definitely making a lot of noise here in America. And of course, now then we've also seen Imran Khan's sons have filed an appeal to the UN. How will it take shape? I think this is what we have to see. How will this impact Imran Khan's release?
This intolerance is basically started by the PMLN's leader Nawaz Sharif. PTI is going for the more stronger protest regarding their chairman's illegal arrest and detention.
Eman Mazari warns on the contempt of court proceeding over something like dictator remark.
The politics of violence, as you must have observed after the assassination of Charlie Kirk in US.
What is the current situation of flood in Pakistan and India? Is that true? Government has stopped media to broadcast any news.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Facts International. I am Khadija Naveed, your host, and Aisha Chaudhry has joined me as my co-host. We have honorable guests in our show, Dr. Sundar Salif, a media coordinator of PTI from US. We also have invited Dana Najam, a senior journalist from Express Tribune, and Sardar Ehsan Raza, PTI leader, has also joined us. All of you, welcome to the show. My first question is to Dr. Sundar Salif. Please let our viewers know about current situation of PTI and what's the next happening about the release of Pakistan's most popular leader Imran Khan. And as we know, a while ago, Imran Khan's son has contacted UN. Please let us know about all the details.
Yes, thank you very much for your questions. I think the most significant development right now in relation to Pakistan's democracy and rule of law and Imran Khan's release is the HR 5271 Act. It's a bill that was passed here in America just yesterday, and this was passed by Congressman Bill Huizenga and Congresswoman Sydney Kamala-Gerdove. So we've been working on this development for the last few months, and finally it has happened. It's the Pakistan Freedom and Accountability Act. So this is what it's also called, HR 5271. So you might remember last year the HR 901 was passed, and that was a significant, a step in asking for democracy in Pakistan. But how is this different from that? This is now asking for much stricter measures. So it's asking the Pakistani government officials to be held accountable for any human rights abuses and any human rights violations that happen in Pakistan, and they will be sanctioned actually with travel bans and asset freezes. So this is quite a big deal here in America right now, and this will have an impact in the next few weeks in Pakistan. And how will it take shape? I think this is what we have to see. How will this impact Imran Khan's release? But this is, it's definitely making a lot of noise here in America. And of course, now then we've also seen Imran Khan's sons have filed an appeal to the UN Special Rapporteur. And this appeal was also a UN appeal was filed last year as well. But this one is more significant because it's from the sons, and it's again making a lot of international noise, like some newspapers, they're all reporting it now. I'm seeing on social media. So this is going to be, I think making international noise, which already it is. But whether or not this will lead to his release is the million-dollar question. And that has to be done within the judiciary in Pakistan. But, internationally, what we are trying to do is raise our voice for Pakistan's rule of law and justice. And so these are the major two developments that I wanted to share with you.
All right. Sardar Ehsan Raza sir, Eman Mazari warns on the contempt of court proceeding over something like dictator remark. Please let our viewers know about all what had happened to Islamabad High Court.
Yes, Khadija, the situation of judiciary in Pakistan is very bad. I think worst ever in the history of Pakistan. After the unconstitutional amendment, which is called 26th Constitutional Amendment, basically the amendment is passed by an illegal assembly which is not an elected assembly basically, and the people came from the power sector, and they just know how to continue their government. Now they also affecting on judiciary. So situation is in Islamabad High Court is very bad because the Chief Justice in Islamabad High Court, Mr. Dogar, he was at number, I think, 5th in the Lahore High Court, and he was specially called up for such a bad things happening in Islamabad High Court. Basically, Islamabad High Court has very good in past, but now in Islamabad High Court is doing very bad things, like the Iman Mazari's contempt of court and other things. And other important thing is about the fixation of Chairman Imran Khan's cases. Basically, 2 cases are pending of Imran Khan in Islamabad High Court, and they needs to be fixed as per policy, as per rule, as per justice, but they are not fixing those cases. Number 1 is Al-Qadar University case, and second is Tosha Khana 2 case, which is whose revision is pending in the Islamabad High Court. Basically, Tosha Khana 2's case is a case of double jeopardy, which says you can't trial anyone in same case 2 times. So they are trying Chairman Imran Khan in the same matter for the second time. It is basically third time because first time inquiry was closed, second time they give punishment to the Chairman Imran Khan in Tosha Khana 1, and now they are again trying him. So we are just asking that it is the law of Pakistan and fundamental right that one cannot be tried again and again for the same offence. So although the chairman didn't do any offence, but as far as the law is concerned, we are talking about that. So they are not even fixing the cases because these cases has nothing solid to discuss. So they are escaping from that, or they are not fixing the cases. We already put petition before the Islamabad High Court regarding the Tosha Khana 2's early hearing and status quo regarding stay, but no one is taking care of that. They just want to continue that trial and have another sentence for the Chairman Imran Khan, as well as the Qadar University case where suspension is due, and I think as a student of law, that case maximum it needs 3 minutes arguments to suspend the punishment of Chairman Imran Khan, but Islamabad High Court is not ready to hear that cases. So it is very unfortunate for the law, for the fundamental rights.
Durdara Madam, since PTI came into being, it is always known for its outspoken party behavior. The workers and the people are with Imran Khan and their heated words on the social media. Why PTI is always labeled like that?
Thank you very much for inviting me to the show. Yes, unfortunately, PTI has earned a very bad name because of its behavior on social media. I know people get offended when PTI is criticized for making abusive or offensive remarks on social media, especially against their opponents. And this has been getting worse. Even when Imran Khan was the Prime Minister of Pakistan, a slight criticism of Imran Khan or any of the leadership, the top leadership or the middle tier leadership of PTI was used to trigger a barrage of offensive remarks from the PTI social media, which is really unfortunate. Even yesterday, I was trying to explain the same thing to Bilawal and the panel that I was sharing with the stage with. So the problem is that right now it is the release of Imran Khan which should be the center point in the agenda of PTI. But the kind of opinions, the kind of tweets, the kind of how should I explain it? The kind of attitude that they have adopted against the government as well as against the establishment, that is not going to help Imran Khan come out of the jail, because the atmosphere is very tense. If you have observed over the period of, I would say, recent decade, this phenomenon could be observed, I think, globally. The politics of violence, as you must have observed, after the assassination of Charlie Kirk in US, there is a debate. A debate has started that the political parties they do not believe anymore to resolve their differences through dialogue. And if they do not like the opinion of the opponent, they resort to either violence. And there are several shapes and formations of violence. And one of them is becoming abusive. So I think this is, as the popular politics took play, became famous, and as more autocratic leadership emerged on the global political scenario, this typical attitude of taking your opponent or treating them as enemies and exhibiting political violence, I think has become a new norm. So, I would suggest, these days the debate which is happening in the US is actually going to set the tone for the future political debate, not only in the US, but it can be replicated in countries like Pakistan, where it has, as we are talking, it has become a norm to abuse, to use offensive languages, and to not tolerate anything against leadership. It is not only now limited to PTI. Yes, the PMLN camp or the Pakistan People's Party, they are they don't exhibit this kind of offensive behavior as PTI does. They do show some restraint. Even PMLN shows restraint, but even then, having shown so much restraint, having not coming that openly against their opponent, still PMLN, especially, I am really very surprised, and I really get hurt at times. The journalists of those who belong to the PMLN camp,
Okay, ma'am, thank
they
you.
actually use very offensive language.
I would
So
like
I think
to.
this culture of political violence, this is not good for Pakistan, and it is now being discussed that this is not good for any other country. So I would suggest everyone in this panel that please do follow what is happening in the US these days, because that debate is exceptionally important, and it is also very
Okay,
important
Dr.
for
Sundar
Pakistan.
Sali, your comment on the same question as per Durdana's ma'am's explanation.
Yes, I was absolutely listening to everything Durdana has been saying, and yes, look, the Charlie Kirk debate it's a very horrific incident that's happened, and since it's happened on the 10th of September, everyone here has been in shock because actually, what we see here are two different points of view, the right and the left, and and he was, of course, a very extremely conservative political activist who was very good at debating. But nobody should be killed for their having a different opinion than yours. But because gun crime is allowed, it's allowed here in the U.S., and so this is a very ugly face of allowing people to carry guns. And he was shot in a wide open public, and it's what's now going on here is, yes, this debate about political violence, whether that should be allowed or not. Now, in Pakistan, we've seen decades of, opposition of different parties. And unfortunately, we see these kinds of incidents of political violence in Pakistan it's actually much more common in Pakistan. And some of it's reported, some of it's not. But here, what we have seen is, one side not tolerating the views of the other and killing him. And he was a father of 2 young daughters. And, I'm very, very deeply saddened by what's happened. I disagree with a lot of things Charlie Kirk says about Islam, about Gaza, Palestine, and about abortion, but that does not mean to take the life of another person. So I think there's a lot we can reflect on and learn from what has happened, sadly, with Charlie Kirk. And Pakistan should definitely also follow this debate and what's going on, because the Trump administration is now in shock because Charlie Kirk was behind a lot of the campaigning that happened in the Trump election, because he attracted the youth to vote for Trump. So I think Trump feels a bit dismantled. He feels like one of his probably the most strongest element of his team has now died. So this is also something for Trump to also think about, because he is very open about his views, and we have to be we have to tolerate other people's views and not be that aggressive in our speech, I think, and that's something we can all reflect on.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Dartana madam, I would like to ask, what is the current situation of flood in Pakistan and India? Is that true? Government has stopped media to broadcast any news, kind of news in TV and social media and whatever.
See, I don't have any information as to whether the government has stopped media to cover the flooding of Punjab, because whenever I put on television in my home, I see flood everywhere. I don't know from where this information is coming to you. Probably there are chances that they might have instructed the media that they should only show the footage in which the government or the people, the administration is helping out the people affected by the flood. But I think, by and large, the Pakistani media is covering flood. They cannot ignore it. It is not not a negligible, event or an incident. It's a huge incident which has affected almost, I think, 70% of Pakistan. So we cannot say that media is so callous that they will just brush aside this huge, this problem or tragedy, in fact, I would say. So I think, yes, I was just reading Rauf Klasra's tweet right now, and I think Shehbaz Sharif has said that before they take any further step towards the relief of the people affected by the flood, they have to seek permission of IMF. If this is the case, I think this has to be true, because obviously Rauf Klasra will not just come out and say anything which is fabricated. So if the situation has come to this pass that, in order to serve your own people who are badly affected by the floods, and they are impoverished, poor people, if we have to seek the permission of IMF, and if that has become the situation of Pakistan's, so I would say that we neither have any sovereignty left, nor are we independent, and so this is really very concerning. I have no idea what type of permission the government would seek. Whether they, I think, obviously now the next step would be rehabilitation of the people affected by the victim of the flood. because sooner or later, probably in a week's time or 2 weeks' time, the water will finally start receding, and that will be the time when that will be the time to rehabilitation, and that is going to be the real tough time. The real battle will start at that time, because the government will have to face, people will have to face, I think, outbreak of several diseases, especially waterborne diseases, and then the rehabilitation itself will take a lot of time. Considering that already we don't have any infrastructure in place, so I am certain that we are not going to build any infrastructure. But whatever infrastructure there was, to rebuild that infrastructure would require a lot of obviously financial assistance. I think Shehbaz Sharif might have this in mind. That's probably because our coffer is empty. We don't have anything to offer to our own people because we are not producing anything. Pakistan as a country is not earning anything. We are just borrowing. So this is a really very sad state of affairs.
Sardar Ehsan Raza Sahab, I would like to ask.
One of the worst.
Thank you, ma'am. Sardar Ehsan Raza Sahab, I would like to ask, what is the current situation of PTI and also the big news about PTI?
I would like to say Madam Durdana's comments about the PTI intolerance. I just want to remember her that this intolerance is basically started by the PMLN's leader Nawaz Sharif, who even abused Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto Shaheed in their public meetings in the assembly, and then they murdered 14 people of Tehreek-e-Minhaj Quran, which is a famous political party in Pakistan, back, I think 10 years back or 12 years back, Madam should remember that. And now they murdered almost 15 to 16 people of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf on 26th of November last year. So political intolerance is started by the PMLN, and they are the pioneer of this activity in Pakistan. And second thing is the political situation regarding PTI's what is going to do PTI. PTI is going for the more stronger protests regarding their chairman's illegal arrest and detention. So we will try our best to release our chairman as soon as possible.
Thank you all of you for joining us. So viewers, this was our show. Till then, do subscribe our channel and keep watching. Allah Hafiz.